From our studios in Tokyo, this is NHK Newsline. I'm Ross Mihara. The Islamic group Hamas has released 4 female Israeli soldiers and handed them over to the Red Cross. It's the second batch of prisoners to be swapped between Israel and Hamas. The handover brings the total number of released Israeli hostages to 7. Israeli officials say the 4 women were reunited with their families. Under a 6-week ceasefire that began last Sunday, Hamas agreed to release a total of 33 hostages in phases. In exchange, Israel is set to release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. Israel said about 200 were freed on Saturday.
Today, we salute and embrace them and their families as they reunite just now after so long. We cannot and will not forget the 90 hostages, including women, children, and elderly men, still remain in brutal conditions in Hamas captivity.
The spokesperson, however, says Hamas violated the ceasefire agreement by failing to release a civilian hostage. In response, Israel says displaced Palestinians will not be allowed to return to northern Gaza this weekend as scheduled under the agreement. Media reports say except for Israeli forces opening fire in central Gaza, there have been no major clashes since the ceasefire took effect. South Korean prosecution officials say a court has dismissed their second request to extend the detention of impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. Local media say prosecutors are expected to decide on Sunday whether to indict Yoon. A prosecution official says the court reached its decision on Saturday. It cited similar grounds to the ones raised on Friday when it turned down the first request. The court had determined there was a lack of probable cause to continue an investigation under the prosecution's authority. Yoon declared martial law for a brief period last month. That action prompted a joint investigation team to arrest him on January 19th on suspicion of orchestrating an insurrection. The team transferred the case to the prosecution on Thursday. Local media say prosecutors have not been able to conduct a substantive investigation of their own as the expiry of Yoon's detention is drawing close. NHK has learned that Japan's government and ruling coalition are considering sending Diet members to a UN nuclear weapons ban treaty conference without observer status. The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons has been ratified by 73 countries and territories. Japan has so far rejected calls for it to attend meetings of the treaty group as an observer. The third meeting of states parties to the treaty will take place in March at the UN headquarters in New York. The government and the ruling coalition are mulling over whether to send members of the Liberal Democratic Party and coalition partner Komeito. They say it is important to listen to the discussions for future reference. They are also considering a plan to make it a cross-party delegation depending on the willingness of opposition parties. Nobel Peace Prize winner Nihon Hidankyo has asked the government to take part in the meeting as an observer. However, the government and the ruling coalition say the benefit of participating is limited. They reached the conclusion after studying examples of other countries that are seen as relying on U.S. nuclear weapons for their own security. Nihon Hidankyo co-chair Mimaki Toshiyuki said he feels anger and disappointment that the government cannot participate as an observer for the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombing. The World Health Organization says it is reviewing its priorities to cut costs following U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the body. The United States is the largest donor to the WHO, but shortly after his inauguration on Monday, Trump signed an executive order stating his country's withdrawal. The AFP news agency reports WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus sent an email to its employees on Thursday. In it, he said the U.S. decision has made the organization's financial situation more acute. He said they are now reviewing which activities to prioritize with a reduced resource envelope. He went on to say that recruitment will be frozen except in the most critical areas and that travel expenses will be dramatically cut back. WHO spokesperson Christian Lindmeier described the U.S. decision as a concern for global health. He noted the WHO both provides critical information to the U.S. and receives information from it so as to have the best possible response in case of outbreaks. Trump has visited areas devastated by wildfires in California and pledged to help put out the blazes and rebuild communities. 28 people have been confirmed dead in the fires that first started on January 7th in several Los Angeles suburbs. The blazes have been mostly contained, but a new wildfire broke out on Wednesday. Trump went to affected areas on Friday to hear from residents and to encourage firefighters battling the flames.